Lord, give me the strength to rest. Hey, what's up? It's Patrick. It's Rose via Fire. And I pray this message reaches where it needs to reach. So let's talk about, Lord, give me the strength to rest. You know what I'm saying? So I feel as though some people struggle with laziness and then other people struggle with overworking. You know what I'm saying? And for the people out there who struggle with laziness, that's, this message is not necessarily directed to them. That's something that, what I'm saying, they gotta talk to God about, and God will help them on that. But this message is for the people out there who struggle with the overworking aspect, you know what I'm saying, to whereas they don't even feel like, you know what I'm saying, they don't feel like they could rest until they could see their way through everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna rest until I see all this. I'm not gonna rest until I see all this amount of money in my bank account. I'm not gonna rest until this and that and this and that. And I understand that in this world we need money, and I understand that in this world we trying to go after success and this and that. But it's like we also gotta be able to rest, man. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times, man, one thing that I'm starting to realize and starting to learn is that resting is pretty much like, we don't rest when our bank account is full, bro. We don't rest when we could see our way through how everything is. There's another type of rest to whereas you could rest in God's hands. You know what I'm saying? And that's the type of rest that I'm trying to get into, and a lot of people should get into as well. Do not rest because you could see your way through everything and you feel like, I see my way, everything is secure. Find that security in God's hands and rest in God's hands. You know what I'm saying? God's hands should be your source of security. Okay, I'm secure enough to rest. You know what I'm saying? You got some people out there, they don't want to rest until they're rich and this and that. And resting in God and resting in the hands of God, that's not to say that you still don't have to work hard until to reach a certain type of level. I'm not saying that you ain't gonna work hard to reach a certain type of level, because let's keep it real, bro. God is not just gonna rain down like a briefcase full of money in front of your like kitchen table or something like that. God is just not gonna just spawn a briefcase full of money in front of like your kitchen counter, right? So it's like we still gotta put in the work, but it's like we gotta it's like there's a balance between working hard and really just finding that rest in God's hands. You know what I'm saying? I feel as though like this, you know what I'm saying, for the people out there who struggle with like overworking, it's like they work and they work and they work. And when it comes time to rest, you know what I'm saying? Because there's a time for everything. There's a time to work and there's a time to rest, right? When it comes times to rest, their brain is thinking about, how can I work? You know what I'm saying? It's like sometimes you just gotta get your mind off of all that stuff and really just put it in God's hands. Because, you know what I'm saying, just like how some people struggle with laziness, other people struggle with overworking. Now, which one is worse? Struggling with laziness or struggling with overworking? Which one is worse? I'm gonna be real with you, man. Like, it may seem as though laziness is worse, but there's also like overworking could also destroy your health. Overworking could destroy your mental health, your physical health, and this and that. So it's like they both got their own bad things going on, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's really all about that balance, man. Like that balance of like, okay, I've worked hard, I did what I could. Now let me rest in God's hands. And when you're resting in God's hands, in a way, it's kind of like you should rest as though you're already rich. You should rest as though you already have all that money that you need in your bank account. You should already rest as though you have all these things, because it's like we gotta reprogram our mind. Is like, God is our source of security. God is our provider and our source of security. It's like we cannot put our rest into the hands of how our bank accounts look. Does that make sense? It's like we put in our rest in numbers instead of putting our rest in God's hands. And I know that's easier said than done, but it's true though. It's like we gotta really just find that strength to rest. And for some people, they need to pray that type of prayer. They need to be like, man, Lord, give me the strength to rest, man. Some people really, we need that type of prayer. Give me the strength to rest, because You'll be surprised. Some people don't have the strength to rest. Some people struggle with laziness, and then you got other people whereas they work so hard, they don't even have the strength to rest, because resting feels as though it's taken away from the work that they could be doing to get closer to that goal. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they don't even have the strength to rest. The only strength that they have is to overwork. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there's a psychology to this. The only strength that they have is to overwork. But what I'm saying is, we got to find that rest and that security in God's hands. God's hands is the promised land, bro. You know what I'm saying? Reaching that amount of money in your bank account, that's not necessarily promised land, bro. The promised land is putting your trust in God's hands. Putting your security and your sense of security in God's hands. That's the promised land. And that's something that it took me a long time to truly understand. Like, God's hands is the promised land. God's hands is the providing hands. God's hands is what gives you that security. God's hands is what gives you that peace. You do not see that you accomplished everything you want to accomplish. Now you rest. Because by the time you get there, you're going to be broken. You're going to have destroyed your health. You're going to have destroyed your mental, everything. So it's like, why get there and you have completely ruined your health? Instead of like putting your security in God's hands and rest along the way. Yes, you're still working hard, but you're resting properly along the way. And I feel like we underestimate the power of just resting properly, bro. I'm talking about resting mentally. I'm talking about resting really in your soul. I'm talking about really just resting. We underestimate the power of that, just resting correctly. And the only way to rest correctly in this world is to put your sense of security and your trust in God's hands, bro. Like, to put all your goals and all the things you want to achieve in God's hands. That's how you rest properly. Because if you depend on what you're seeing physically and you're trying to see your way through everything, you're not going to be able to rest properly like you want to. Because all these things is going to let you know. You're going to let numbers dictate when you should rest. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to let numbers dictate when we should rest. We don't have to let the systems of this world dictate when we should rest. We as a followers of God, we have God, bro. We could just rest in God's hands, man. We could just put our security in God's hands. Our provision, all our goals, everything we're trying to accomplish. We could just put all that stuff in God's hands. And when we go to sleep, man, we resting like a baby, man, because we resting in God's hands. We resting as though everything that we want to achieve is already done. It's like there's a sense of security when you really just give it all to God, especially before you go to sleep. Be like, Lord, I put all these worries in your hands. I put all this stuff in your hands. If you just pray to God and you put all those worries in God's hands, all that overthinking in his hands before you go to sleep, your rest is going to be much more deeper. And you ask God to really like give you that rest. Know what I'm saying? So you don't have to wake up your mind spinning about you haven't reached your goals, why your bank account ain't this way, da 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 da. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I hope this message, reach somebody out there. You know what I'm saying? Feel free to reach out to me on my website, and also feel free to check out the Open Chat Rooms page on my website as well, man. You know what I'm saying? Peace.